Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mindfully Aligned. I'm your host, Adanzi Benjamin, and I'm pretty excited for you guys to hear what we have in store for you today, this episode. We're going to be covering a lot, so buckle up, and I hope you enjoy. So, right off the bat, those who know us might be surprised by the conversation we're going to have here today. But this episode is all about evolution, and there are a lot of layers to both of us that people may not know. And if we're talking about evolution, then who better to get the message from than someone who's really lived it? So to kick things off, introduce yourself.
What's up, everybody? My name is Chike. And first, before I kind of give my story, I do want to express a lot of gratitude for Danze for just having a platform like this. This is something that I used to always want while I was in college, just like a space where we can just be authentic and just have meaningful conversations. And I feel like, Danze really cultivated this into a whole project. And now, she's done one episode, now 2 episodes, 3, 4, 5, 6, and she's just going to keep doing more and more. So this is something that's, very needed in our communities.
Thank you.
So thank you for that.
Yes. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate the kind
For sure. And, I don't say none of that with... I really mean that because you don't see a lot of people doing this, especially people that look like us, people that come from communities like us. So I think it's very important that somebody got to do it, But my name is Chike Onachukwu, shot by Cheek. I met Adanze in college, Drexel University. Where do I even start? That's crazy. So I went to Drexel on a full ride, graduated Drexel with a health science degree, also studied psychology and entrepreneurship. Kind of was on a path to do med school, then kind of transitioned to law school. Then I kind of, transitioned out of that and kind of did what I wanted to do, following my purpose and following my passions. So after college, I went on and took on entrepreneurship. I'm a creative director, photographer, videographer, specializing in working with brands, really leveraging content to drive sales and elevate their brand, really big on personal branding and creative strategy, things of that nature. So, yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I've been doing it for a year professionally, but honestly, I feel like I've been doing this my whole life. I've been into creativity and marketing and everything that goes behind that. So, yeah.
So, as an entrepreneur, obviously, it's the road less traveled, and you have to kind of go off on your own, and there are definitely a lot of choices you have to make. So, you mentioned pivoting throughout college to find what your purpose really is. How did your family react to that decision, and how do you navigate that today?
I'm Nigerian, and I come from an immigrant family. They came to America from Nigeria to, get a better life. And they wanted me to go to school and be a doctor and take these kind of traditional paths. And, I was always a smart kid, and I had the capability of doing it, but it didn't really align with who I was and what I wanted to do. Those weren't really my passions and where I wanted to go for myself. So definitely they don't really understand the untraditional path that I'm taking, but at the end of the day, my parents want the best for me, and they support me in anything that I do. But sometimes they don't really understand exactly the ceiling for me in the path that I'm taking, because they're used to, you come to America, you get a job, you go to school, and then you're just set for life. But I didn't kind of see it that way. I wanted more for myself, so I took on this path because this is where I feel like I aligned.
Yeah, and that alignment is actually really key here. Because, a lot has to be said about the pressure that comes from having immigrant parents. They want so much more for you, and it can be hard to shake off their dreams for your own. That's something we talked about in the very first episode of the podcast. And what I mentioned in the last episode is that aligning with your higher self is so important because it helps you understand what's meant for you and what's your sole purpose instead of what other people are projecting onto you. And so for you to be able to wake up one day and realize, yeah, those dreams are great. Like, I could be successful doing that, but that's not what I'm called to do in this life that I have. And you answered that call. That's pretty big, and it's not an easy decision to make. So, hats off for number one being able to do that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and it's tough being in an immigrant family, and I'm sure a lot of people who are listening can relate to this too. Like, you know, your parents have these dreams for you, and they want you to do well. And from a young age, it's like they instill in your head that, you know, you always got to do better. You always got to do better. Chase this, chase that. So like, you're kind of conditioned from a young age to always listen and receptive. There's nothing wrong with listening to your parents. I'm not saying that, but you know, there's not a lot of room to kind of think for yourself and decide what you want to do. And I feel like that's been the theme of my life for the last 3-4 years, is kind of like really digging deep and asking myself, what does Chike want? Because ultimately, I think that's important. I feel like that's the key to doing a lot of the things that you want to do with your life. You really got to ask yourself, like, what do you want to do? And then go from there.
Exactly. And, you know, it's not an easy conversation to have with yourself. Sometimes it's humbling. Sometimes it's sobering. But if you really want something different for your life, it's an important conversation to have. Yeah, definitely. So let's get more into your college experience.
Everyone's favorite.
Yeah. Can you paint the picture of the person you were then?
That's crazy. College was an experience, definitely a transformative experience for me. I was a very, very outgoing person, and I still am. I was a very outgoing person. All right, let's just take the elephant out of the room. I partied a lot. All right, like, you know, I was always kind of the center of attention when it came to hosting parties, going to parties, and kind of just bringing people together. You know, I always thought I was something that I was gifted at. I was gifted in just bringing people together, bringing the vibes together, making people, like, have fun and being, like, the root of that. So I spent a lot of my time, I was in a fraternity in college, so that kind of, like, expedited my personality and expedited, like, the traits that I had in myself, because when you're in fraternity now, you're exposed to a whole network of people. So, yeah, I definitely leveraged that and utilized that in college experience. And, you know, for the people that are watching that know me in real life, you know that, you know, if you're at Drexel and you wanted to have fun, we were probably together type thing. But, yeah, like, I was definitely, like, an outgoing person, definitely hosted a lot of events, a lot of social gatherings, a lot of formals. Definitely cultivated, and this has always been a part of my life, just kind of the work hard, play hard mentality. So, you know, of course, I was having fun and everything, but Monday to Friday, I was definitely in those books, or Monday to Thursday, I was definitely in those books in the library. That is something I really remember in college. Like, I definitely grinded it out, whether it was in school, in the gym. Definitely had that balance for me, because I always think that's important, like, just having a balance. Like, yeah, it's okay to have fun, but you got to know when to have fun.
Definitely.
And, you know, in college we're young, so this is our first shot at freedom. So, you know, anybody who's 18, 19, 20 years old who just leaves their parents' house and gets this new freedom, you know, they're going to do a lot of things with it. So definitely had a lot of fun in college.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reality of it. I've definitely had my fun as well, being in Greek life as well. That's how we met. But that's the truth of it. And I think just to get it out the way, in this episode, we're not going to be knocking that lifestyle, because, of course,
For sure.
we lived it. We've done it. We had great memories from it.
For sure.
This is more about evolving and realizing when it's time to lean more into the things you're working towards, and when to find the correct balance for you, and understanding when you're called to be doing other things.
For sure. And I love what you said there, too. Definitely not knocking anything, because, listen, I love to have fun. Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? That's a very critical part of my life and who I am. I love to have fun. But like you said, like, there's times to pivot and there's times to have fun. And, you know, my mom always told me too much of anything is never a good thing. So definitely a balance to that. And, you know, that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit today.
And so I'd like to know, what was your journey like as a Black individual in a predominantly white institution? We'll refer to it as a PWI, involved in Greek life. And how did you navigate feeling out of place maybe in that context?
So let's backtrack a little bit. So I grew up in Northeast Philadelphia, pretty diverse area. And where I live specifically, there was a lot of immigrants. So you've seen a lot of Russians, Uzbekistans, Indians, white people. Not too many Black people, but it was diverse in that aspect. When I went to high school, actually for my first year, I went to a charter school, PAX, and it was an all-white school. I was probably one of 4 Black people there. I was maybe one of 2 Black men there. And I ended up leaving that school because that school, I was in all honors classes, and this is not no flex here, but I was in all honors classes, and I really had like hundreds in all the classes. It was just way too easy for me. I feel like it didn't really challenge me intellectually, so I had to get out of there. So I ended up transferring to Central High School. Shout out Central. And that's when I got my taste of diversity in the school. Central High School is, if I'm not mistaken, the #1 most diverse school in the country. Wow. So we had a mix of a lot of different types of people: white people, Black people, Asian people, Hispanics, Indians, like all different types of people. So I was really exposed from my sophomore year to senior year. Like that's where I really got like a taste of a little bit of everything. So adjusting from there to Drexel was definitely like a little new to me, but it's not anything I felt like I couldn't handle. I feel like I adjusted to Drexel's environment pretty smoothly. It was definitely a lot of times where I wish there was a little bit more diversity in the school, a little bit more Black people, a little bit more people that you can really deeply relate to. But I feel like, you know, it's just kind of the reality that we live in, and that in the most cases you're gonna be the minority, you know. Drexel specifically, I wasn't really too much of an issue. You know, you get in situations where like you feel like someone can't really connect with you because we're not the same.
I feel that way.
You know?
Sometimes people can't see outside their own box, and it's not necessarily outright racism. Like they wouldn't call it that, but unable to relate to someone who doesn't fully look like them or didn't come from a hometown that's exactly like their hometown. Things like that. Definitely would agree.
Yeah, there's a lot of ignorance, we'll call it. There's a lot of ignorance to it, but you know, sometimes I don't knock them because like people grew up differently. You know, people grew up, especially I feel like, you know, I come to Drexel. Drexel is predominantly white. Most people that come here are rich folks, rich white folks. I don't come from that. You know, I come from a Black family, Black Nigerian family. We didn't really have, you know, the luxury and the glamour growing up. You know, we still made it work, but I say that to say, like, there's already a disconnect there where you're going to school and most of these people's, they got Corvettes in their backyard, or they got houses and
like down the shore,
all that, you know, like that's a great luxury, you know, but I don't come from that. So like there's a disconnect there a little bit sometimes when you're talking about certain things or you're relating to certain things. But, you know, I never let that stop me from having connections with people or talking to people, but it's definitely still there, and it affects the relationship to an extent. But, you know, I think once you have the awareness, then, you know, you can kind of get through the relationship.
And so going back more into the life you lived in college, what really was the wake-up call for you? Can you elaborate on that realization that you may have had?
Yeah, so, you know, when I went to Drexel, we very much prioritized the lifestyle of just, you know, going out every weekend and drinking and doing all this crazy stuff. You know, just being 20, 21 years old. What I feel like were some of the best memories of my life, to be honest with you. You know, you do that for 1 year, you do that for 2 years. Then you start asking yourself, all right, like, are we going to be doing this forever? We've went to every bar in the city. We done went to every restaurant in the city. You know, we hang around the same people. Like, this can't be all to life, is it?
Yeah.
So I kind of started, like, realizing that and understanding that. And then also going back to what we said, like, since I come from a very different background than majority of people who come to Drexel, I come to school and I quite literally have to work hard.
Yes.
I have to work for my degree. I have to get that co-op. I have to do something with myself after college because I'm not like the majority where it's like they're coming to college for an experience or they're coming to college because their mom sent them and they got $30K every quarter to send them to college. Like, it's not like I came here, God willingly, I came here on a full ride scholarship. I will always be forever grateful for that. But I still can't mess around here. So, you start doing it for a year or two. I remember having this distinct memory right after my 21st birthday. So 2021 in the fall. Like I said, like this is like right now I feel like I'm at my college prime, so to speak, I'm popping, we're having fun. I feel like everyone knows me on campus. Everyone always reaches out. I'm having a very good time, and I'm connected to a lot of different groups of people at this time. It was definitely one of the best times of my life. I've got to be very, very honest. But I remember having a breakdown one day in the fall. I forget what exactly kind of triggered this, but I felt disconnect in my head. I felt, on one hand, I was so popular and everyone knew me and everyone's so excited to see me. Everyone wants to get lit with me, this and that. But then on the flip side, I go home and I'm lonely and no one really checks up on me. And when I'm having a bad day and I talk to somebody, it's like, it kind of gets brushed over. I felt like
the connection's not really there.
It just didn't make sense to me. I remember just having a breakdown. It didn't make sense. Like, how can you be in public and be so hype about me when I come to you on my deepest shit? It's like, you don't got no words for me, or it's like, you'll figure it out, or you're on your own. That's what it felt like a couple times. And I remember just having a breakdown one day, and I talked to somebody in my fraternity who was also a black man. I talked to him because I figured, we could relate the most, And I remember talking to him, telling him about the situation, how I just feel this disconnect where I feel like, there's a little bit of just superficialness in the community that we're in, and there's a little bit of just like, people act one way and show you this way, but you don't know their underlying reason, or they're not there for you like how they say they are, and things of that nature. And yeah, I kind of just talked to him, and that's when I kind of realized, like, okay, like, it's a shiesty world out here. It's a shiesty world out here, because I couldn't get over the fact that, like, I could feel this high energy on the exterior, but on the interior, it's like, it's empty.
That's a reality I think a lot of us come across. And in that moment, we feel alone. But I'm really happy we're sharing this because it's important for other people to know that if you've ever had that thought, this life I'm living seems so full and I know so many people, but at the same time, like, I feel kind of alone as well. It's normal to feel that way, especially with the lifestyle that we were living. If your friendships are only around going out, having fun, those kinds of things, and never on a deeper level, of course it's going to feel like it's lacking. And many times we want to ignore that because it's easier to ignore that feeling.
For sure.
But that feeling that you had that night is that feeling of being so out of alignment that you cannot ignore it anymore.
For sure.
And it manifests in your body as anxiety, and you are just feeling so out of sorts. It's a feeling I'm sure many listeners here can empathize with.
For sure, it was an extreme disconnect for me because, a lot of people know me to be authentic and to be raw. Like, I'm a very blunt person. I say it how it is. Like, how you see me is what you're going to get no matter what room that we're in. So if in that moment it just felt so just not me. Like, just not me. It felt like how could you be this face one time but be someone else another time, or not show up for your people? And I think, us just having this conversation and showing awareness, and I'm sure a lot of people feel this way at times, is just whether or not you're going to speak about it, or whether or not that, you're going to have those real conversations about it.
So in any kind of awakening, there's the before and the after. So, of course, you were in that life, full-fledged, present, enjoying yourself before you realized that things were kind of artificial around you. What was that like for you after you had this realization, being in those social circles, and you kind of had the clarity and the reality kind of hit you?
Anyone who knows me, like, I'm a big proponent of the people around me and who I surround myself by, because at the end of the day, those are the people that influence you. So I'm the type of person that will fill your cup in the friend group, or I'm the type of person that, if you're having a bad day, or if you want to talk about something, or something is kind of messing you up in the head, all right, bro, let's sit down, let's talk.
I feel that.
That's always been consistent throughout my life, being that type of person. I feel like I got to know these people. So to me, they held a very close spot in my heart and just in my life, because I spent the time with you and, we're locked in. That's how I see it. So it's definitely tough making that first realization, but ultimately I had to flip the script. At some point, you got to think for yourself, and you got to put yourself first. And, some people might call it selfish. Some people might call it you're doing what's best for you. I just had to put myself first. And this is what really introduced me to writing and really putting things down on paper. I have this belief that once you write something down, let's say it's a goal, an idea, a mission, whatever it is, it's stamped. It's as good as law. That's how I feel. So when I was kind of going through this disconnect and I was so frustrated, I was like, why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like this? What the fuck? And I started making a planner. First question I wrote down was, where do I see myself in 20 years? And I wrote all the words that I felt like I wanted to be. Free, financially stable, happy, flourishing, being with the people I love.
Identifying that higher self.
Exactly. I was being very specific, where I want to live, what type of house do I want to have, what type of impact do I want to make on people, what's the energy I want to give off when I go in a room. Mm-hmm. I started being as specific as possible. And then I started from, okay, where do I see myself in 20 years? Okay, where do I see myself in 5 years? Wrote all that down. Okay, what are some things that I can do for the next 3 months that will lead me in some direction toward those things? So what kind of habits can I start picking up? What kind of goals should I set for myself? What kind of routine should I put into play for myself? I started thinking about and writing those things down. And of course, when you first do this, you're not going to be good at it. You're going to fall off. You're going to procrastinate. You're not going to stick to it. But that was the first time that I was very, very intentional with the direction I want to take in my life and the direction that I see for myself. That's when I kind of started figuring out and finding out. And this is coupled with going through life experience and going through different work experiences and trying new things. Because honestly, that's where the valuable information and the valuable, I guess, life gems are really in place. Coupled with writing things down, being intentional with where I want to be, and then aligning myself in the physical in terms of talking to certain people, hanging around certain people, or applying to different jobs, or being in certain rooms, or starting new projects. Those were the two things I kind of really started honing in on and being more interested in. And this is like my third year of college.
This is exactly what we were talking about in the last episode, was finding your higher self and you really put that into practice, you had to really sit with yourself and think, who do I want to be in 20 years? Who's that person that has lived the life, done everything I've wanted to do? And thinking about them intricately, writing it down, and thinking, okay, what would they do over these next few years? What does that look like? And how can I start that now? People can get lost thinking about the big picture, but whittling that down is so great. It's so powerful. I love a 3-month goal. I love a seasonal goal. Okay, I know what I want to do in the next 5 years. I know what that means for what I want to do this year. So what can I do this spring or this summer to get 5 steps closer to that?
Facts. And it's very important that you start with the end goal in mind, because that end goal is what gives you direction. Because at the end of the day, like I believe goals really aren't meant to be hit. You're really supposed to really aim high and try to achieve your biggest, wildest dreams. As soon as someone says your dreams are crazy, you're going somewhere.
Yeah.
You're going somewhere.
My dad literally said to me at the beginning of my senior year, I was just thinking about my future and all the things I had ahead of me. And he said to me, Danze, if your dreams don't scare you, you're not dreaming big enough.
Facts.
And that's exactly what it is here.
Facts. So it's very important to just keep that going in mind, because at the very least, it gives you direction. It gives you, okay, if I'm aiming for the stars, if I'm aiming for the moon, I'm going to land somewhere in those stars, And it
might be even better than what you thought the moon would be.
Facts. Now you're really in the money. Now you're really it's very important that people think about these things, because, with just how society's moving now and everyone's going with the flow and we're getting distracted by so many things, our devices, our phones, our this or that, our attentions are being pulled from so many different directions. And it's not even just the phones, it's the relationships that we're in and the people that we're around. It's very important to really sit with yourself. And I don't know if it's meditate, journal. For me, my form of meditation is journaling, writing things down. For you, it might be different. But doing that thing that keeps you grounded and really puts you in that mode of, okay, what do I want intrinsically? Really digging deep, okay, what do I want for myself? And I feel like that's the key to really, getting whatever you want, reaching to the next level, leveling up, finding your purpose, whatever it is that you want for yourself. I think that's definitely the root.
Exactly. So, once you have this epiphany, it's going to cause you to look at life differently. It's going to cause you to move through life with a whole different purpose. We talked about our Black experience earlier. For me, understanding...
Yeah, hold up, but real quick, we didn't really talk about your experience, though. Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit. Everyone's, experience is very unique, and it's very, just unique to them. So I'm actually curious about what was your experience as a Black woman, and especially a Black woman in a Greek life at a PWI?
My experience was a little different because I grew up in PWIs exclusively. My school looked a lot like Drexel. If anything, I'd say Drexel's more diverse than what my school was.
Wow.
Maybe one of a handful of Black people in my class in the whole school, I'd say. So I was used to being different. That's definitely something I grappled with. That's definitely something that caused me to struggle with my mental health earlier on, but I got used to it. I realized that there's some strength that comes with that. Being one of the only Black girls, there are always eyes on you. You can use that to your advantage.
For sure.
So I learned that before I came to school. I think the only thing that really hit me when I came to Drexel was, okay, I'm Black and a woman, so that means that I cannot be playing around. It's very similar to what you said. I can have fun, but I can't fail out of classes. I can't be holding myself back for years. I can't be goofing around because my future is not one I can be playing with. My family made it very clear to me, because of who I am as a Black woman, I have to work 5 times harder, 10 times harder to achieve the same thing. So I remember the day I had this thought. I was like, okay, this life is fun, but I can't let this consume me because I have too much to lose here. And I know there's a lot at stake for me. I can't mess this up.
Sure.
So how can I leverage this as much as possible to get myself to exactly where I want to be, because I've always known where I want to be. It's just a matter of not losing sight of that, especially because of who I am.
Facts. And I love that you said it, just to piggyback a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about leverage and really accepting who you are and figuring out ways to kind of use that to your advantage. I feel like that's a hurdle a lot of people don't really, or a lot of people struggle to get over, because a lot of people, it's very easy to feel sorry for yourself and say, like, this is not fair, like, why is everyone treating me like this? But I think if you just make that mindset flip a little bit and just say, okay, I accept that I'm these things because they're just who I am, you know, they're just inherently who I am. Okay, bet. How can we use that to our advantage? How can we use that to put ourselves in better position? Definitely something that, like, I see personally people struggle with is, you know, this whole kind of victim mentality and feeling sorry for yourself. I think, you know, you can just kind of get out of that by at least trying to get on the other side of that mindset.
Completely. I actually used it to motivate me and fuel my fire. I remember I was walking home. I was taking 20 credits at this time, and I was working my job in digital marketing for the music industry. So I'm doing all this big work that's super important to me, and I'm taking all these classes. I don't even have time at the end of the day to do my work. So I'm working in class, and I'm going to the gym. I'm going crazy. And I would be in class from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be walking home at the end of the day thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. I don't know if I can do this. But I thought to myself, like, shut up, because I was thinking about how my parents put themselves through college. They worked full time and did school at night. And they did all that, and they put in all that work. They didn't get to join Greek life. They didn't get to have fun on the weekends. They were working and they were studying, and that was it.
They had it harder than us, for real.
Worse than us, for sure. And they did that so that I can be here and be able to have my little fun on the weekends.
For sure.
And do what I do.
That alone is your validation that you're literally built for this. You're built for whatever challenges coming your way.
100%. I was like, if they can do that and come on the other side of that and build that beautiful life that they built for themselves, who am I to complain? Who am I to want to goof off or put my dreams aside and ignore them and take the easy route? No, that's not what I was built for. That's not what I came to do. They didn't do that.
Facts.
So I owe it to myself, and I owe it to them to show out and do what I have to do.
Facts. And that mindset is going to take you far, for real. I'm really proud of you, for real, because a lot of people, like I said, kind of sit in that, I feel sorry for myself and this, that. Like, nah, just get up and go work. Get up and actually, okay, like, let me do something for myself, or it's not going to be a rainy day forever. There's sunshine at the end of that. There's rainbows at the end of that, you know? So create them. Like, we have the power to really use that. I believe in vibes and good energy. And you got to cultivate that. You got to create that for yourself to be able to use it in certain areas. So if you have the mindset of creating a better life for yourself or creating a good vibe, a good energy, like, you can leverage that, and that's what you're doing. So it's very good.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like life is going to throw some stuff at us, of course, but we really cannot sit down and, like, count the raindrops in the storm and just think about how bad it is. Like, it's kind of like, okay, what are we going to do from here? I think that in the last couple years, life has thrown things my way that would knock a lot of people on their ass. But it really gave me the lesson, like 2023 on the whole, gave me the lesson that you cannot just sit when bad stuff happens to you. You really got to keep going, because life will pile it on if it wants to. In terms of identity and things we can't change, who am I to sit and, you know, feel like, woe is me? I just kind of got to keep going. That's it. I have no other choice, because life's going to keep moving. What am I going to do about it?
Facts. When it rains, it pours. And I've been on the bad end of that stick. Just got to keep going. And just have that right attitude, because that's what's going to take you far. So
to go back to where we were at, sometimes, you know, having these epiphanies, you look at everything differently, you move through life differently. You have this different mindset, but you were also in the same environment, aka in college, same kind of social setting. How did you adjust to that, and what were some new dynamics you noticed within your social scape?
You know, it gets tricky. It gets tricky when you kind of level up mentally, but you're around people who just quite aren't tapped in yet. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone's journey is different. You know, everyone reaches a new level of consciousness, of understanding, of whatever you want to call it, at their own pace. So, you know, sometimes people realize what they want at age 12. Some people don't realize it till they're 30. You know, that kind of comes differently from everyone. You know, I found myself in a lot of scenarios, and this is where it really started being distinct with me when, you know, regular Saturday night, we go out drinking, partying, whatever, hang around people. We come back home, and we're just by yourself with the boys or with a group of friends. And I'm the type of person, like, I like having deep conversations. Similar like how we're having right now. It's not crazy deep conversations, but I'm just prone to, I think it comes from just wanting to connect with people, honestly. Mm-hmm. I don't want to know your favorite color. I want to know your darkest secrets and your biggest dreams. And I remember just a specific scenario, just when, you know, we come back 2, 3 a.m. and those are my times to have deep conversations. And those are my times to connect deeply with my friends. And people weren't really on that. It became a constant thing of, you know, who we going to invite over, or, you know, he said this on Instagram, she posted this on Instagram, oh, go look at this, oh, what does she think she got on? Just a lot of just low vibrational talk.
That's the word right there.
You know, and it's like, okay, I understand on one end, okay, we're 19, 20, 21 years old, we're surrounded by this, we're around beautiful women all the time, we talk, we gossip, boom, boom, boom. But it comes to a certain point and where shit just gets old, you know? And it's like, when are you going to realize or acknowledge the finer things in life that actually matter, you know? And my way of getting to those things is through conversation, through understanding, through talking things out. So when it came time to, I wanted to talk about, you know, just, bro, what are your dreams? What do you want to do after college? It was a lot of mute conversation. And it was a lot of, where the bitch is at? Again, like, I'm not trying to knock anybody if that's what you do, but I think it's one of those things that kind of come with age and come with, like, experience and maturity levels. You know, at some point, that shit gets old. I want to talk about some real shit. How we going to get this money? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm worried about. How we going to elevate? How we going to take care of our family? How are we going to do real things that actually matter? Those are the things I want to talk about, not what she posted on Instagram or what he got on and what girls are we going to invite. That was cool when we were 18, 17. Like,
and there wasn't anything else going on.
And we didn't have nothing going on in life.
But now life's knocking. What are we talking about still?
What are we talking about still? So, like, that's where I was at. And this was prevalent during my final years of college. That's when I was really like, okay, like, we got to pivot and start talking, like, just doing different shit. Instead of just accepting that this was my environment. You know, again, I say it's tough because it's almost like it's like a battle you're fighting. It's like, okay, I want to be this way for myself, but I'm surrounded by this energy all the time. Mm-hmm. They almost consume me. And, like, it's hard kind of trying to play both parts and both sides of, like, okay, this is what I want to do in my life. But, like, you know, when Thursday comes around, they hitting up the group chat, like, where we at tonight? Or blah, 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 blah. Like, it's tough. But, you know, you navigate do those things really by just, again, a lot of people are going to call it selfish, but I look at it as just doing what's best for you. Like, you got to really just ask yourself, what do I want to do? What would I rather do? And then act on it respectfully. And it's no, like, shame to anybody. It's like, nah, just follow your own path and do what you believe is best for you. Because at the end of the day, you're the one living this human experience. You're the one living this life experience. So it'd be wrong of you not to do what's best for you, or at least what you think is best for you, you know? So it's definitely hard navigating that because, again, like, I just love being around people, and like that's what kind of fuels me. But, you know, ultimately I had to just do what's best for me and kind of follow and forge my own path.
Yeah. I mean, discipline is the difference between what you want now versus what you want later. And so at a certain point, you had to wake up and think, okay, right now, I might want to do what my friends want to do because it's easiest to just go along. But also later, I want to have something built for myself. In 5 years, I want XYZ. And so you really have to ask yourself what choices you're willing to make to get that. Yeah, there's definitely something to be said about knowing better, knowing that you should be doing something else, but you are still in that environment. And I think that this is a struggle for upperclassmen specifically. I think for me, coming off of my co-op, it was my dream position. It was what I wanted to do. I found my purpose. And going back to classes and getting thrown back into that life, I had a lot of conversations with my therapist about, okay, why do I just feel out of place? Why am I not enjoying the things that I'm doing back on campus right now? And she said, that's normal. You are supposed to feel that way. If you didn't, I'd be concerned. You are really 1 foot in, 1 foot out at this point. And, you shouldn't want to be completely submerged in that life anymore. It's part of growing up.
For sure. And give yourself grace, because these are also the first times in which we're making these tough decisions.
Yeah.
Like, again, we're 21, 22, around that age. Like, they sent us to college at 18 and expect us to know what we want to do for the rest of our life. Like, it just doesn't work like that. Like, there's a lot of self-discovery that you have to go through, and you only find those answers through going through those experiences. So these were the first times where we had to make tough decisions. Like, all right, are we going to go to this party on Friday night, or are we going to go study and work on our goals? Are we going to go to Sunday brunch, or are we going to spend the Sunday to reset and kind of get ready for the next week? And I'm not perfect. Like, I didn't always make the best decisions, but it starts with the consciousness and understanding. And it starts with the initiative of, okay, if I didn't do it one time, how can I do it better the next time? Or, okay, it's kind of like a give and take. You got to play with yourself too. Like, reward yourself when you do good, and when you do bad, think about how you can do better on the next time. And it's not something that we should like kind of knock ourselves over or beat ourselves over on. It's just something that we should consciously try to get better at. Because again, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. We don't make the best decisions. But the difference is we have control over those decisions we can make. So
did you find yourself conforming at first when you knew better, but you felt like it maybe was out of convenience? I mean, I know I've felt that way for sure.
So it was hard. Definitely conformed for a little bit, just because, like, I kind of always gave myself grace and gave myself, quote unquote, the benefit of the doubt because I was young. This was my time to do whatever I wanted. And honestly, I'm glad I made that decision to kind of, in the beginning, conform to a lot of the things in which I knew mentally in my head that, like, I probably shouldn't be doing this, because it kind of gave me that room to experience those things and see it for what it was and live out my young years. Like, I'm blessed to just be able to go through and experience certain things in college. But like I was saying earlier, there's a time and place for everything. There's some things that just kind of expire in your life. And some of the things I've done in college simply have just expired.
That's the word. I think it's expired. I think, yeah, I've definitely conformed as well. You don't really want to have people questioning you all the time about, oh, why haven't I seen you? Why haven't you been doing this, that, and the third? Sometimes it feels easier to have that shift and have, go through that mentally and keep it to yourself than to explain to everyone, like, I'm not really interested in that anymore. I actually want this now for myself, and have people doubt you. So I think a lot of us sometimes go with the flow often too much. And, I just had this thought, like, I feel like also as Black people in predominantly white spaces, I feel like we are kind of used to conforming. And maybe we know something's off, or we know something's not necessarily for us, but we kind of might go along with it anyway just because it's easier or it's more convenient. And I wonder, like, if that trend might have had a correlation with understanding we shouldn't be doing something and continuing with that on a consciousness level.
Yeah, that is an interesting thought. That is an interesting thought.
So, with all that you've realized in your last few years of college, where has that taken you to in terms of where you are now?
You know, when I think of college, like, at the end of the day, it was just one big experience and one big learning experience for me to just be at the stage I'm at now. Now I feel a lot more focused, a lot more clear-headed on the direction I want to take with my life. My biggest focus right now is really growing my business and growing my brand as a creative director, creative strategist, a creative just in general. Kind of just like giving me more focus and clarity. Those are the big things. Like in college, you may have been, rolling in big circles and having a lot of friends, but it doesn't quite look like that nowadays. The circle is a lot more smaller. I still have my network is still big, and I have a lot of outreach to my community and a lot of connections in my community. But in terms of immediate day-to-day, it's a lot smaller, and I think it also comes with just the territory of just entrepreneurship. It's great. I wrote about this the other day. A lot of people see entrepreneurship as this glamorous thing, or social media makes it like this, like sought after. Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, businessman, but people don't really talk about the harsh truths about entrepreneurship and taking on this path. Like, you will be depressed. No question about it. At the start, you will be broke. I've invested my all into this, and not just money and financial things, but also just my energy and my focus. Like, my focus is building my business and building my network and building my relationships. But that's the side that people don't really see on social media. They see the glamour, they see the luxury, they see the cars, they see the dates, all this, but it's lonely. Like, you don't really hear from people.
And it's not something people also understand. If you're taking a traditional path, people can understand that, and they can be like, oh, so you're doing this, you're taking this exam. The entrepreneurship path is not something that's easily quantifiable. So that makes it even more lonely, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Like, sometimes you can't really, because it's so untraditional, most people don't take this path. You're kind of dealing with the other majority of the people that, are doing the mundane things in life and don't really understand the journey you're on, and there's a lot of disconnect there. And some of those people might be the closest people to you. So definitely a lonely journey, but through my college experience, I feel like I'm well equipped for it because of the experience I went through and kind of seeing the sucky side of life and the sucky side of relationships and the sucky side of just certain experiences. I definitely learned, lessons in that propel me in my career now.
So how do you use that kind of loneliness to motivate you or push past it?
I feel like I've always kind of have that mentality of just got to get after it. You gotta just make it happen. Like, again, it kind of speaks to our background and where we come from and our family. Like, no matter how tough it gets for me right now, my parents went through way worse.
Exactly. No,
You know what I'm saying? My parents went through way worse. So it's like, who am I to complain about struggles that I'm having or this and that? Like, that ain't shit for real. That's how I look at it. So it's like, okay, you're going to be lonely. Be okay with it. Find joy in the loneliness.
Definitely.
Because guess what? Like, if you feel sorry for yourself, if you say, why is this happening to me? You're immediately going against your vision and going against, getting to that point that you want to be in life. So I kind of just accept things for what they are. Of course, I'm human. I have feelings. I feel things, So when initially, in the beginning, when I started my entrepreneurial journey, it was definitely an adjustment to make. Like, damn, like, people have been quiet in this group chat, or like, damn, like, I haven't heard from so-and-so in freaking months. Like, damn, people don't, and it's not like they don't know what I got going on. It's kind of finding that balance for yourself and accepting things for what they are, just because you're going to act in a certain way that doesn't mean that your friend is going to act in that way. People are their own individuals. You kind of just have to accept things for what they are and move forward.
I feel like use that loneliness as fuel, and there's probably a reason why you're put in that position. I'm a big believer in the sense that God does not put you in circumstances that you're not meant to be in. Like, you are put in a certain position to learn from it. And so if you are in a season of loneliness, you are supposed to be in that season. Things are supposed to be quiet now so that you can hear your own thoughts and so that you can see the road ahead of you.
For sure. And that's what's going to build you to that person that you see in the future. Like, you got to go through the sucky parts, bro. You got to.
Embrace that.
You got to embrace that for sure. And I feel like that's where you find the most valuable, quote-unquote, life gems. It's in those failures and in those sucky moments where you're lonely, because now it's just really you and your thoughts. And it's up to you. Like, what are you going to do about it? Now you have no influence. Now your friend ain't telling you to do this. Your mom ain't telling you. No, it's on you. So what are you going to do about it? And honestly, I live for that type of pressure. Like, I'm the type of person, like, I perform best when my back is against the wall. Let's embrace it. We only got one life to live. Let's max it out. Let's do it.
You know, I'm going to be moving back home after college.
I love that for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's the best. Free rent. I mean, no rent. You know, and I'll be commuting to work in New York. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, and I think that people might be like, you know, that might be lonely. You know, all your friends are in the city. And no, it's not to me, because that's my grind time. Like, I'm thinking, literally, oh, shoot, like, my first few years in the workforce, and I have no choice but to focus on that. You know how much work I intend on putting out, how I'm going to be going at 200% capacity.
You might not even have time for friends. You might not have time for those people, for real.
And it's okay, because, you know, when I do make that time, it'll be worthwhile.
For sure.
And I'll be able to say, hey, guys, this is what I've been working on, this is what I've been doing, have a lot to share. And when it's time to celebrate, I'll be able to celebrate my success, right. You know?
And I bet you when you get to that point, you might be surprised that the people that you thought were going to be there are not actually there.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of people just, you know, and I don't get this in our culture. A lot of people see their friend, you know, take on adventure or do something to better their lives or something that's just new and innovative. And they're silent.
Yeah.
And that's a concept I'm still trying to figure out, like, why? Like, I don't understand that. You will see your friend grinding, hustling, like, promoting himself all the time. You know that he runs a business or da-da-da-da-da. And you're quiet
and
about it?
You have nothing to say.
You have nothing to say?
How's that going? Nothing.
Like, I think that's crazy. That, like, I can't even put it into words.
I think that God really will show you what's for you, what's not, who's for you and what's not, and who's not. You know, I think that, you know, when you're doing something big, you can want to hope that everyone will be there to clap for you, and that's not always the case. And I look at those moments as it's, you know, God's pulling down the curtain. Like, I can see who's really rooting for me now and who's not.
Facts.
Life will present you with a bunch of those kinds of moments.
Facts.
Throughout your time on this earth, and we really have to embrace that. Embrace the loneliness, embrace the reveal of the fake, and use that to look at the other side of that. You know, you're not lonely, you're focused right now.
Facts.
It's a season of focus for you. It's not a season of people revealing that they're fake to you. It's a season of getting to appreciate those who are authentic in your life.
For sure. I think you hit it on the money there, for real.
So my last question is, what advice would you give to others who may be struggling with similar feelings of loneliness, disconnection, or the need for reinvention in their lives? If you had one big takeaway for all the listeners here, what would it be?
First thing that comes to mind is really just dig deep. Dig deep for yourself. That's really the only thing you can do. Ask yourself those tough questions. Like, as much anxiety as they may bring, those are the questions that's going to open you up, open your heart up, open your mind up to the different possibilities in this world, because the possibilities are endless. Like, if you really lock in for 12 months, you can really get anything you want in your life. Like, no bullshit. I've seen my closest friends do that. So really dig deep and ask yourself, okay, like, what do I want for myself? Remove all the, external factors of family, friends, what you see on social media, whatever it is. Like, do that for yourself. Ask yourself, what do you want? Where do you see yourself? And what are the steps that I can take to get to that point? Like, simply just doing that, I feel like, will answer a lot of questions that someone is having about maybe their future or their current situation or, you know, whatever it is they have going on in life. Like, really dig deep for yourself. And there's no timeline for that. Like, you're not going to figure it out in a day. You might not figure it out in a week, in a month. But be intentional about discovering yourself and discovering your passions and discovering what you want for yourself, because that's what's going to lead you to freedom.
Beautiful. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. It's super important to just sit down with ourselves and ask that question, what do I want here? Not about what my mom wants, my friends want, my dad wants. What do I want? Because this is your life, and at the end of it, you have to answer to yourself. That's really it. Do you have any other final remarks for the podcast?
I think this was a perfect conversation to have, especially, and I hope this hits home for a lot of people that are in our communities, in the Drexel community, in the Black communities, whatever community you are in, kind of struggling or trying to find answers. I hope this really hits home. And again, I'm very grateful that we're able to just come together and talk about this and have a platform for this, because I wish I had something like this in college or when I was going through those struggles and really didn't know what I wanted in life. I wish, I was able to listen to something like this. So people just got to listen and tap in and take the gems that apply, Not everything we talked about could apply to you, but I'm sure you can take nuggets of it. My biggest thing is, at whatever stage or level I get in my life, it's very important for me to always give back. And not only give back, but give back to those communities that supported me in my level up in my journey. So this is kind of like my way of just kind of talking to my younger self or talking to someone who, struggled with some things that I struggled to. Like, there's a way out of it. Like, there's a way, and it starts with just understanding and having these conversations and, take what you can and try to apply them, and you'll see some fruitful things in your life.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you for joining me. This has really been such an amazing conversation. Again, I know that might be people who at the start of this didn't think that this made sense, Maybe this was an uncanny connection for some, but...
And if you did, you're a hater. I'm sorry. I just got to get it out.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, at the end of this, you can really see how much we resonate, and
sure.
I'm sure listeners may realize how much, we resonate with them. There is a lot in the college experience that is universal. Some is specific, like the Black experience, but all of it is valid. All of it is worth sharing. And I'm really happy that we could sit down and have this conversation and share our perspectives with you all today. I hope it's able to be applied to your own life. And yeah, again, thank you for listening, and thank you, Chike, so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Be sure to like, comment, share the podcast, subscribe, all the things. Let us know what resonated with you most on this episode. You can reach Chike by Shot by Cheek. Plug yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can reach me at Shot by Cheek. Any photography, videography services you need, or if you're just trying to build out your personal brand, build out your business, and you need help on the creative and digital side and kind of setting things up, hit me up. Shot by Cheek.
So thank you guys again so much for listening. Be sure to share. Let us know what really hit with you here. Thanks again for tuning in.